On October 12, 1972, a chartered Uruguayan Air Force Fairchild FH-227D aircraft took off from Montevideo, Uruguay, carrying 45 passengers and crew. Most of the passengers were members of the Old Christians Club rugby team, along with their friends, family, and supporters. They were headed to Santiago, Chile, for a friendly match. The mood was light-hearted, filled with the excitement of young athletes embarking on an adventure. The flight was supposed to be a short one, but bad weather forced the plane to make an overnight stop in Mendoza, Argentina. The next day, October 13th, the plane resumed its journey. However, as it approached the Andes Mountains, the pilots made a critical error. Due to poor visibility and miscommunication, the plane began its descent too early, crashing into a remote, snow-covered mountain pass. The plane struck the mountain at an altitude of approximately 11,500 feet, 3,500 meters. The impact sheared off the tail section, and the fuselage slid down a steep slope before coming to a halt. Of the 45 people on board, 12 died instantly or shortly after the crash, including the pilot and co-pilot. The survivors were left stranded in one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth, the freezing, barren Andes. The survivors quickly realized the gravity of their situation. They were in a remote area with no means of communication, limited food, and no way to signal for help. The cold was relentless, with temperatures dropping well below freezing at night. The thin air at high altitude made even the simplest tasks exhausting. In the days following the crash, the survivors organized themselves as best they could. They used luggage and seat cushions to block the holes in the fuselage, creating a makeshift shelter. They rationed the small amount of food they had, a few chocolate bars, some snacks, and a bottle of wine. But it was clear that this would not last long. As days turned into weeks, the survivors faced unimaginable hardships. Avalanches buried the fuselage, killing several more people. Hunger gnawed at them, and the cold was unrelenting. Desperation set in as they realized that rescue efforts had been called off. The world believed they were dead. Faced with the prospect of starvation, the survivors made an agonizing decision to eat the flesh of their deceased comrades. It was a choice born of necessity, not desire, and one that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. But it kept them alive. By early December, 2 months after the crash, the survivors knew they could not wait for rescue any longer. They decided to send a small expedition team to cross the mountains and find help. 3 of the fittest and most determined survivors, Nando Parrado, Roberto Canessa, and Antonio Vizintín, volunteered for the mission. On December 12th, the trio set out, armed with little more than makeshift snowshoes, a sleeping bag sewn from airplane insulation, and a few scraps of food. The journey was grueling. They climbed steep, icy slopes, battled altitude sickness, and endured freezing temperatures. After several days, Vizintín returned to the crash site, leaving Parrado and Canessa to press on. Finally, after 10 days of trekking through the mountains, Parrado and Canessa spotted signs of civilization. A farmer on horseback. They had made it to the Chilean side of the Andes. The farmer alerted authorities, and a rescue mission was launched. On December 22nd and 23rd, helicopters located the crash site and airlifted the remaining survivors to safety. In total, 16 people had survived the 72-day ordeal. They were emaciated, frostbitten, and traumatized, but they were alive. The world was stunned by their story. The survivors became symbols of human endurance and the power of hope. Their ordeal raised profound questions about the limits of survival and the strength of the human spirit. The survivors returned to a world that had given them up for dead. They faced scrutiny and judgment for their decision to resort to cannibalism, but they also received widespread admiration for their courage and resilience. Over time, they rebuilt their lives, forever bound by the shared experience of their ordeal. The miracle of the Andes is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. It is a story of friendship, faith, and the unbreakable will to survive. It reminds us that even in the darkest moments, hope can light the way.